Alright boys, what's good? So I've actually got something a little bit different for you today. Now, it's not a live trade, it's more like a weekly breakdown. However, I have some pretty interesting changes to my strategy that I think a lot of you will be interested in. Now, I'm sure a lot of you know I trade a pretty basic supply and demand strategy. If you've seen any of my live trades, then you'll know it's heavily inspired by Doyle Exchange. I'm sure a lot of you know him. And that was pretty much the strategy. However, for me, the strategy hasn't really been too consistent, and the risk reward really isn't that satisfying to me, because for the most part, the strategy promotes one-to-one risk reward, and alongside that, the win rate isn't too crazy, so it's really not for me, especially since I'm on a prop firm. You feel me? You've got to consider commission, spread, etc., and commission isn't going to change whether you get a 1-to-1 or a 1-to-3. But yeah, I know this works for some people, so I'm not hating. I've literally had profitable weeks and months with it myself, but personally I found something a little bit different. It's still supply and demand, however from my testing this is literally just a complete game changer for me. Now, I still have a lot more testing to do in the live markets. So far most of the stuff I've looked at has been back testing. This week I actually have done a full week of trading it, so I'll show you how that went. But yeah, anyway, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of liquidity supply and demand. It's not nearly as popular as normal supply and demand, but I've been learning some RD concepts, if any of you have heard of that. And like I said, from my testing, it's crazy what this strategy can do for like your risk reward and, to be honest, even your win rate. But yeah, for a quick rundown for those of you who don't know what liquidity supply and demand is, it's basically where liquidity, such as right here, gets created between price and your supply and demand zones. So a lot of the time, normal supply and demand traders will get faked out, and we basically use them as liquidity, and we take their stop losses, and then it comes to our zones and we win off them. Now, I'll show you a few examples of this before I get into the trades that I took this week. However, don't expect this to be a full strategy breakdown or anything. Like, I'm really not going to go that in depth about it this video, but tell me if you'd want that. But for the moment, I'm still in the learning process myself, but to be honest, I'm already liking it more than my normal supply and demand strategy. So like normal supply and demand, obviously you want to be trading with the trend. I think that's just a given. But for this setup, we can see a lot of demand zones right here, and here. And with these, obviously normal supply and demand traders will have their buy limits here, and with that being said, their stop losses will be below the zones, etc. And a lot of supply and demand traders will get in here, you feel me, on break of candle, and then it will fake out. There we go, we've taken some people's stop losses. Demand zone number 2 and 3, we have taken out both of them. So we've just taken out a lot of liquidity there, okay? And now we have our zone below this. You'll frequently see the best rejections from these zones. Like, I'm not even joking, I was baffled when back testing the strategy. The rejections you see from the zone are just crazy. Now, once again, obviously there's aggressive entries, there's normal entries, and on the 5 minute, it's honestly fine if you just want to enter on the first nice rejection. So right here. However, I've been doing some testing with higher time frames such as a 30 minute, and first of all, this strategy works crazy with that. I'll get into that in a bit. But yeah, anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. So entry, just on the nice rejection. If you want to be safe, then you could still get in at break of candle or the close of the first bullish candle. Now, this is pretty much a bullish candle, you feel me? This is just a beautiful rejection. And here's the beautiful part about the strategy. So with normal supply and demand that I've been using for however long now, first target is always 1-to-1, and then maybe go for a 1-to-2. Obviously, this is a pretty tight stop loss, and you'll see that quite a bit of the strategy because you can be a little bit more aggressive with your entries because these zones honestly hold so much. But yeah, normal supply and demand, I only ever really see people going for 1-to-1s, maybe 1-to-2s. If it's a really nice setup, then maybe a 1-to-3. However, for this setup, if you have the patience, you can hold these up for insane risk rewards. Like, I'm being dead ass. Like, obviously this right here is a beautiful setup. I've picked out like a really nice one for the example. However, you'll see risk rewards like this quite often. Now, I haven't taken one in a live market like this yet. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I quite have the confidence yet to be holding up for this long. However, I do use a minimum risk to reward of 3 RR like most of the time, unless the stop loss is really wide for whatever reason. But yeah, anyway, let me go forward a little bit. You can instantly see we just get an insane rejection. Now, another beautiful thing about this is you don't really have to cut your losses. Now, that was one thing with the strategy I was using previously. When you're going for 1-to-1s, cutting your losses is extremely important, because if all your wins are the exact same size as all your losses, it's really difficult to get an edge. And that was proving to just be an annoyance to me. For example, on occasion you'd cut a winner and it would just be playing on your mind. With this, you can really just let it run. You don't even have to be at your computer, you can just leave it for ages, because a lot of the time these setups might take a little bit longer, which is expected when you're going for higher RRs, but it's so worth it. But let's continue. It literally does come towards our stop, but this happens quite a lot when you're holding for this long, and it usually does just go back up. But like I said, you're gonna have to hold for quite a while a lot of the time. And also, since our zones are usually big retracements like this, where we take out lots of liquidity on the way, you'll notice that with these bigger retracements, you also get bigger retracements back. So you can kind of predict that this will fill in this whole area and even take out this high, especially since we're on this bullish run. But yeah, continuing, we soon hit TP, I assume. Yeah, just like that. Now, once again, obviously you're not going to be hitting a 1 to 10 every day. That's a bit bold. But from my testing and even some of the trades I've taken in the live market, you'll consistently get 1 to 3s and even up to like 1 to 5s and 6s quite a lot. But honestly, bro, it's actually so insane, I'm not gonna lie. But now that hopefully you have somewhat of an understanding of liquidity, supply and demand and how crazy this can be, I'm gonna show you some of the trades I took this week. Now, keep in mind, this is my first week trading it. I've only been back testing it for a few weeks, and even then I'm not perfect at all. I still have a lot to learn with the strategy, I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, anyway, I'm waffling, so let me get into it. All right, so I've got a trade right here. I do want to quickly say, I stay transparent. I did take a loss on Tuesday, but that was actually a completely invalid trade. That was just my fault completely. So I'm not even going to bother showing that. However, this is the first valid trade I've taken in the live market using the strategy. This is from Wednesday on Chef JPY. Now, this is just recommended to me by FOREX, which is the guy that introduced me into this. And I back tested it, and honestly, it's kind of crazy. The spreads aren't great, but other than that, for this strategy, it works perfectly. So right here, as you can see, we have a normal supply that normal supply and demand traders have entered. Their stops will be above it or wherever. And on top of that, this is just a minor swing, so we know liquidity sits at swings. And we break through it, take their liquidity, quickly tap into our zone right here. Now, this is my entry that I have here. The ideal entry would be right here, and it would have been a 1 to 5. However, with a little bit of spread and also a little bit of a late entry, I won't lie, this was my entry. And I will quickly say, for me, I now only take setups if it wicks inside the zone. If it closes inside the zone, then it's invalid for me. But yeah, I just thought I'd quickly throw that in there. But yeah, I just want you to look at the power that this came with. Literally just 2 massive candles. That was TP hit. That was a 1 to 3 right there. I don't think you understand. It has been so long since I've hit a 1 to 3 of normal supply and demand. This was so refreshing. Now, to be honest, I probably would have tried to take this lower for like a 1 to 5 just because it's a pretty tight stop. Only reason I didn't was because on the 30 minute, which is honestly the main time frame I'm checking at the moment, it looked pretty clear to me that we just wanted to fill in this fair value gap and then maybe go up, which luckily seemed to be like the case. But this trade was literally less than 10 minutes and I hit a 1 to 3. Do you know how crazy that is? That shit is so beautiful to me. If this was just a 1 to 1, I would have had commissions take off a bit of that. And if I took a loss the next day, all the profits would just be down the drain. So yeah, this is literally what I live for right here. Anyway, let me go on to the next trade I took. Okay, once again, I actually did take another trade on Chef JPY on Thursday. Once again, it was an invalid trade. Like I said, I'm still getting to know this strategy. However, literally in the last week alone, I've learned so much and I wouldn't take those trades today. And this is Friday. This is the day after I took that trade. Now I know that that was invalid. And unfortunately, my position size, I literally messed up that day and the L was a little bit bigger than it should have been. I'm getting magic keys soon, guys. I promise my risk management will be crazy. But yeah, anyway, this trade, the liquidity didn't actually stem from a failed demand zone. It was actually just this 1 candle liquidity right here. This is just a swing right here. If a black candle comes down, you can expect stop losses to be below it. That's where the liquidity is for this trade. And let's just see that beautiful rejection. Like, that is just crazy. And okay, so here's the thing. On a good entry, this is where you should enter. On the candle close as it rejects, and TP doesn't need to be up here. Let's keep it a stack. You could go for a 1 to 3, even fill in this gap, and that's a 1 to 6. And I would be more than happy with that. However, this was pretty early and I wasn't awake. So basically what happened was this whole move happened. If you got a good entry, you already would have hit like a 1 to 5. However, I woke up around here and with that being said, instead of my entry being here, it was about here. Now maybe I shouldn't have taken that because it's just late. Once again, my fault. I've made quite a lot of blunders this week and yet I'm still up, which really proves something. And I had my take profit here. So if you got a good entry, that would be a 1 to 10. But instead, I took a 1 to 2 nearly. And also, on top of that, I had to wait around 4 hours for this trade to hit. And that's just GJ's fault. GJ is the most consolidatory instrument I've ever seen in my life. But anyway, that's like nearly a 1 to 2. And I was rarely hitting them with normal supply and demand. So this is a massive W to me. However, during this trade, we can also see that lots of liquidity has built up. You feel me? All this down here is liquidity. And right here, we have a demand zone. Now, I guess this zone, a normal supply and demand trader might take anyway. However, it's still considered liquidity supply and demand because there's liquidity in front of the zone. And I saw some people take this as well. It took a while to get to it. However, it gave a beautiful entry. You feel me? You could enter right there. That is the ideal entry. And I actually don't know if this went for a 1 to 3. I didn't take this one. This was just right after it happened. I was actually considering it, but I stayed disciplined, took my trade, got out of the market. Oh, okay, well it did hit 1 to 3 in one candle. Looks like it actually went for 1 to 4.5. Like, that is insane. Like, I'm sorry, but normally you get a break of candle and you hit a 1 to 1. That's a good day for me. And I'll just chalk it down to a win is a win. However, a 1 to 3 win is a little bit better than a 1 to 1 win, in my opinion. Now, once again, I have nothing against 1 to 1s or anything. I've been doing this like my whole trading career. But for me, this is working really well so far. So I'm going to stick with it. But yeah, that's all the, well, valid trades that I took this week. I would show you the losses, but it's literally pointless because they weren't valid. So that is my bad. So this is actually my new watch list. I've got GJ, Chef JPY, and Euro USD. That's right, I'm finally on the Euro USD wave. Trust, it's kind of nice for 30-minute setups. But yeah, anyway, that's about it. Just thought I'd make a video on this because I am changing my strategy a little bit, and I thought a lot of you might be interested because normal supply and demand for me has been quite meh. I haven't been really losing. I was pretty good with the strategy, in my opinion. However, I wasn't really winning too much on the prop firm. On a live account, I was profiting slightly, but on this, I'm basically break even, and I'm hoping to change that with the strategy and hopefully get this baby out of drawdown. But speaking of prop firms, if you want to get a challenge with the FOREX funder, you can use code MANGO for 10% off and the code on screen. But obviously, do your own research. I don't care if you do or don't. That's up to you. Doesn't really matter. I just thought I'd put it out there. But yeah, anyway, that's the end of this video. I hope this helped somebody. I should maybe not really help somebody. You know what I mean. But I just thought I should tell you what's going on. And hopefully, I'll have a live trade on this strategy soon. But yeah, I'll see you hopefully sometime next week. And peace.